It's my favorite time of day. Monday, November 5th, 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time. This is your good pal jer-dog, the 420 Report, my daily live video blog that I like to throw down and just stay in touch with you. Let's go over the show dates while the audience builds, and I'll give you some shout outs as you come online here. As people start to build. Skylar Russell, what's up, dude? Just going to talk about my show last Friday night in Erie, Illinois at Bushy's Slots. Jessica joining in. Lisa, Tanya's here. Hey, what's up? Give you guys some waves and some shout outs. Hit the like button, the laugh, the love, the angry, the wow, any of those reaction buttons. I don't give a shit. And leave some questions and comments. Hey, Kelly, what's up? Darren, what's up, dude? And Sarah, good to see you guys. Whoa. It was a blast last Friday, wasn't it, Skylar? Bushy Slots, Erie, Illinois. It was real small town, real small bar. And we probably packed them in with like 40 people, standing room only for sure. Half the audience was completely rude and didn't pay attention at all. The other half was totally into it and laughing and cheering, especially the more that I brought the crowd into it and did the audience involvement, spontaneous, off the top of my head stuff, just working with the crowd, going with the flow, making it material as I went. That tends to get the best reaction. That said, I do want to announce that today is Myth Busting Monday here on the 420 Report. I want to bust the myth, and I should have just started the video out with this statement to begin with. I want to bust the myth that just because you sit in the front row, the comedian is going to automatically pick on you. I hear this everywhere I go, and I'm going to come back to this in just a little bit, but it's a whole bunch of horse shit, and what it does is it creates a whole lot of fear in people who might not have ever been to a comedy show before. They might want to sit up front. Those are usually the best seats in order to get the full impact and experience of the event, but they get talked into sitting way in the back with all their friends. One of those jackasses told them that if you sit up front, you get picked on. And now here's this newbie, their first time going to a comedy show, and they're intimidated and sitting in the back where all the peanut gallery gathers, and then they talk. I can't really see who's back there causing the commotion. I've got 1,000 watts of light in my face. There's not a whole lot you can fucking do about that. And they wind up not getting the full experience of the show. It's like, leave them alone, man. I'll circle back around to that, but thanks for joining in. Hey, Dorothy, Kenna, Ashley, Brooks, coming your way soon. Actually, second week of December, I believe it is. I'll be out there in Maryland for another weekend at the Eagles Clubs. This Friday night, Farmersburg, Indiana. The show is sold out. I'll be doing a radio interview. Actually, I don't know if it's sold out. I know it's going to sell out. There may be a few tickets left, but I'll be on the radio tomorrow morning, and I'll do a live Facebook of my radio interview with the very talented and lovely Kevin Lambert, who will have me on. He's the morning guy there in Terre Haute. And so tomorrow morning around 8:30, you know what? I probably need to figure out the exact time. I don't know if it's 7:30 or 8:30. We didn't figure out if it's Central Time or Eastern Time. But it'll either be Central or Eastern. It'll either be 7:30 a.m. Central, 8:30 a.m. Central. I'm not exactly sure. I'll put up a Facebook post about it and let you know exactly when I'll be going live over the radio. And I'll do it on a simulcast on live Facebook as well. And also this Saturday night, November 10th, I will be in Peru, Illinois at the Super Bowl. They have a comedy club there. It's been going on for years, probably 20, 30 years, a very long time. Long-lasting comedy club, which is rare in the industry. You know, a lot of these clubs, they don't last that long at all. You know, maybe a couple years at most. You find one of these clubs that's been a mainstay for 20, 25, 30 years. That's a good place. You know, it's going to be a great crowd. You know, it's going to be a great time. You know that they bring in quality performers who don't just pick on the crowd just because they're in the front row. You know what? And even if you're an audience involvement comedian, because not a lot of comedians are even like that. This is why that's a bullshit myth to begin with. Okay, so number one, Brooke says, nice Yoda mug. Yeah, thank you, dear. On the other side, what does it say? May the force be with you. I can turn this around. May the force be with you. And then I got Yoda in the back as well. The Master Yoda. This is why, and I'm a Jedi of comedy. So that's why I want to give you a little knowledge right here, right now. Just because you sit in the front row at the comedy show does not mean you're going to be picked on. Even if it's an audience involvement comedian, he's not going to do that. He's not just going to pick on the people that are sitting in the front row, even if you're an audience involvement comedian. First of all, most comedians are not audience involvement comedians. Most comedians only do the improv or the audience interaction if they have to, because some asshole in the crowd is heckling them or being disruptive or some other way distracting from the material and the already pre-written act, you know, the pre-scripted routine, the polished bits that they deliver over and over. And I've got a lot of those as well, the polished bits that I deliver over and over, you know, the same lines, the same way, the same inflection, the same timing, because you know that's what's going to work. And you got to bring your A game when you're doing these 90-minute shows that I do at nightclubs, taverns, and neighborhood bars. It's not all just off the top of my head, audience interaction, spontaneous stuff. A lot of it is polish material, so that way I know that I'm delivering the absolute best show that I can deliver for maximum impact and enjoyment of the audience. You know, I'm not there to get laughs. I'm there to give a great time. And that said, I want to give the audience my absolute best. So whether that means I'm going completely in the moment, off the top of my head, going with the flow, whatever the people are throwing out at me to work with for material, whether that means I'm asking the audience questions, whether that means I'm doing prepared, polished bits that have the same lines and punchlines and inflections and timing and delivery, you got to get up there and give your A game. 90 minutes, can't let even just a few minutes fly by and have it be dog shit. Otherwise, you get the people in the back to start talking it up and creating the distraction, thereby forcing you to go off the script. So you want to keep it polished. You want to keep it fresh. You want to keep it fresh and polished. It's a delicate balance between the two. Even a comedian that does a lot of spontaneous crowd interaction stuff, they don't just go to the people in the front row. They go out into the whole audience, wherever there might be material that can be generated. It's not just because you sit in the front row. In fact, a lot of times the people sitting in the front row, they're the least interesting to interact with, because they're just right there. The entire conversation is sort of contained to this short distance between the performer and the person they're talking to, and it sort of excludes everybody else on the perimeters. And if you're talking to someone from the back, or you're talking to someone from the middle or the sides, everybody else is still sort of involved in that conversation. You sort of have to talk over the rows of people in order to reach that person, and you have a back and forth conversation a lot, and they're more comfortable giving you honest answers and better stuff to work with creatively to generate material, because they're typically in the dark. They typically might have more drinks back there. They might be more comfortable back there in the back row, which is really why people like to sit in the back. It's just more comfortable. I remember that from being in school. I never liked to sit up front. I never even liked to sit up front of the bus. I always liked to sit in the back. That's where you're more comfortable. That's where you're able to get away with more misbehavior. You know, so the audience is sitting way in the back. That's usually those are the best people to interact with anyway in the show, because they're more comfortable back there, being in the dark, maybe having a few more drinks in the system, being surrounded by a few more friends. Just the fact that they're way in the back, they don't feel like the spotlight's on them. A lot of times the people in the front row, it's a little bit more uncomfortable because they're still sort of in the spotlight there. You know, people behind them can see them whether they're laughing or not. A lot of times they're like physically in the light. The stage lighting will also illuminate the people in the front row. And so that can make people feel more self-conscious. And then when you do ask them questions and you try to engage them and bring them in order to create material on the fly, A lot of times they'll give you sort of a stilted answer, sort of a hem-ha bullshit, trying to be entertaining and creative answer, instead of just saying what the first thing that comes to their mind. A free association, which is the best way to do improv. You don't try to think of what is going to be the funniest thing. You just blurt out whatever comes into your head and then roll with it. That's one of the secrets as well as for a comedian, is we're not looking for people to pick on. We're looking for opportunities to blurt out obnoxious shit in order to be able to roll with it and come up with new material. And that's how you keep it fresh, and that's how you keep it exciting. And then that stuff blends in to the polished bits that you have, and then you keep it rolling and you keep it dynamic and everybody's attention all the way through a 90-minute set. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Jennifer, what's up? You know what I'm saying. You've seen me do that shit before down there in Woodson at the Triangle. It's not always the people that are in the front row that get included in the show. It's a lot of times it's everybody everywhere throughout the entire bar. If the place can only seat 100, 150 people anyway, chances are I'll be able to interact with most of them. They'll be close enough to the stage. You'll be able to interact with them. And if not, they'll shout shit out from the fucking back. It has nothing to do with sitting in the front row. And it always makes me fucking crazy when people come out to these shows and we're hanging out before the thing kicks off and they're like, oh, don't sit up front. Don't sit up front. You'll get picked on. Meanwhile, everybody's avoiding sitting up front. And now I get on stage and there's this awkward space between me and the crowd because there's 20 fucking seats that are empty that are right up front where you feel like you're not talking to anybody at all. It's almost more fun for me to engage with a laptop screen like I am right now than it is for me to engage with a bunch of fucking empty seats right up front because everybody's too scared to sit up there because they think they're going to get picked on. You're not going to get fucking picked on just because you're in the front row. And guess what? If no one's sitting in the front row, then guess what? The front row, this fucking second row is the front row, or the third row, however far back people are actually willing to sit close enough to the stage. Like however close they're willing to sit, then that becomes the new front row. Come on, man. He'll pick on you if you're in the front row. Stop with the nonsense. I don't know where you got that. There's probably a handful of shitty comedians that have done that. Comedians have probably done that crap to themselves because there's some asshole on stage as the MC, which is usually the local open micer that doesn't have very much experience. And so the comedy club brings them in to do the 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes up front to get the crowd going before they bring on the showcase performer or the middle act or the feature or the headliner, the closing guy, whatever the spot, whatever you want to call the spot. You got the local guy that usually goes up front, not very experienced, has a whole lot on his mind, has to remember all the announcements that the club gave him, has to remember all the comedians that are coming on stage and how to introduce them, not to mention has to remember the material that they're going to do, which they probably haven't practiced that much because they've been in the business all but just a few months or even a year or two. You're still up there on stage trying to remember how the jokes go and what order they go in, and you don't necessarily have the experience to improvise with and engage the entire crowd. So a lot of comedians like that in that situation, they're even told, engage the audience, get them into it, ask whose birthday party it is, or ask if anybody's celebrating anything. And a lot of times the people that are celebrating something are deliberately seated in the front row for those purposes, just to make it easier for the newbie MC to interact with them. And then it spreads this fucking viral myth that if you sit in the front row, you automatically get picked on. And what that really is just a comedian reaching for interaction that's probably through inexperience. And then it gives the rest of, I don't want to say it gives the rest of us a bad name, but it definitely doesn't bode well for the rest of us when we want people up front. So that way we feel like we're actually talking to live human beings and not just some dark chasm with everybody seated way the fuck away, but you can't really see anybody. You can hear them, but you can't really see them because you got 1,000 watts of light in your fucking face. So don't be afraid to sit in the front row. You go to the comedy show. Jennifer says, hubby and I was in the very back and you found us, LOL. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you're really skilled at the improvisational style of stand-up comedy, you are going to naturally find the most interesting and fun people to talk to in that crowd anyway. It's part of developing the skill set, going out and about into the crowd. In fact, a great comedian at this is a guy named Willie Farrell, who's from here in Des Moines, Iowa. And I'm going to have him on a future episode of the 420 Report as a special guest. He'll be performing at a few of my grassroots comedy tour locations throughout the Midwest coming up here in the next few months. But he's a master of this stuff. In fact, he even gets off stage and takes the microphone with him and goes around into the crowd and will actually put the microphone down in front of the person's face, like interview style, and then turn all that into material. That fucker's the master of that kind of shit. And he doesn't just stay in the front row. He finds all the interesting, fun people throughout the entire audience in order to interact with and then make it so that no two shows are ever the same. That's one of the inspirations for me to do that, was to make no two shows ever the same. And then when you do that, you can go back to the same venue and perform for the same crowd and talk to the same people and then build a following and a fan base. A lot of times people, they don't mind hearing the same joke twice, maybe even 3 times. And if your joke is really good enough, a lot of people will go and they'll repeat it. They'll repeat your lines. You know, if you think about who your favorite comedian is and think about why am I, no, but think about a comedian that you really like. Maybe you saw their Netflix special, or maybe you saw their Comedy Central special, and you really liked something that they said or did during that special. Chances are you will have gone out and have repeated that line to other people, to your friends at work or whatever, or at a party. When you go out to the bar, you might have said that same line in a conversation. You might use it over and over again. That's kind of like doing stand-up. That's a lot like doing stand-up. I get on stage, I just say the things, and if it gets a laugh and I can keep it in the bit, you know, it's the same thing. If you have a funny story that you tell all the time, or lines that you repeat from a comedian that you hear on Comedy Central. I write all my own stuff. I'm not repeating the lines from someone I see on Comedy Central or Netflix. But I am using the same stuff recycled over and over again because I know that it's going to work. I know it's going to get the laugh. And a lot of times people do like to hear those same things repeated over and over again. Not over and over again a lot, 2 or 3 times at the most, because part of comedy and getting the laughter is also the surprise element of it. And, you know, so you want to not lose the surprise element of it. So if you know, well, maybe I can talk about this later, but one trick that you can do as a comedian, and one of the things that I do, just to let you in on some of my secrets, is I will start in on a similar bit that if I see that there's been a lot of people at my shows before, I know them because they watch the 420 Report like you, and I see you out at the show, I'll try to fuck you up. I'll try to surprise you. Maybe you've heard some of these bits before, but I'll add like a little extra different twist on the end of it, or I'll switch the punchline up from the last time I was doing that particular material and you were out at the show. You know me. When I show up, I shake your hand. I call you by name. I recognize the people out there that have been to lots of shows over and over again. But comedy's not like music. Music, people will sing the lyrics to the song. They love their favorite song. They'll get it stuck in their head. They love listening to it over and over on the radio. A lot of times it's motivational. It's inspirational. It gets people fucking up and going in the morning. I get it. Stand-up comedy is just a little bit different. If you have a repeatable line, that means it's a really good fucking joke that people like to repeat. That's usually a diamond in the rough. It's usually a rarity to have that kind of material. But that said, it's not like people have to completely see a different show every single time they go see you. But it is nice to create something completely different that makes people want to come back over and over and over and over again. Keep it fresh, keep it unique, keep it interesting, keep it exciting, keep it engaging for everybody out in that crowd, not just the people in the front row, and not just singling people out because of where they sit or what they're doing. Oh, don't go to the bathroom, he'll pick on you. Now listen, man, I want you to go to the fucking bathroom. The last thing I want is for somebody to sit there trying to hold in their pee or trying to hold in a turd, and then they're all uncomfortable, and now they're not laughing because they're trying to fucking hold in their bodily functions. I want you to go to the bathroom. I'm not going to pick on you just because you're going to the bathroom. Shit, a lot of times I'm up there on stage 90 minutes and I've had a few drinks going. I got a few drinks in my system. I got to fucking go to the bathroom. You know, but I can't. I know what it's like. I'm up there uncomfortable, still doing my fucking routine. If you're uncomfortable, you're not going to laugh. You got to go to the bathroom, go to the fucking bathroom. I'm not going to pick on you just because you're going to the bathroom. Here's why I might bring you into the show. You're being distracting. You've brought attention onto yourself. You've done something disruptive. You've heckled. You yelled something out. I might even ask questions to the audience like, hey, what do you think about such and such? Or who here has kids? Or how many kids do you have? Or what's your favorite holiday? I might do things like that, but those are basic questions. What's your name? Where are you from? And I'm not going to automatically ridicule the answer. If it's something that is naturally funny and is going to be organic and just work into the show naturally and be fun and then I'll do it. But I'm not going to just ridicule you because you live in such and such a town or your name is such and such or you do whatever for a living. A lot of times that's like the worst way to try to get a laugh is to force a joke in there. Just let the conversation roll naturally, and then whatever funny happens. And the audience usually appreciates that more, and that turns into the best type of material that you can do later on. I like to work everybody in the fucking crowd and talk to as many people as possible and meet as many people as possible before, during, and after the show. Not just the people in the front row that I'm going to pick on, not just the people that have to go to the fucking bathroom I'm going to pick on, not just the people that have to step outside halfway through the show to get their fucking nicotine fix, go outside and have a cigarette. I like to incorporate and engage everybody. All right, that said, Monday Mythbuster, I've been yakking it up here for over 20 minutes now. Thank you very much for being here, Dan and Lisa. Thank you for the loves and the likes and the waves and the comments. LOL. We tend to stand out in the crowd. Jennifer says, yeah, exactly. It's the people who stand out. Those are typically the people that you like to work into the show, you know, and they don't mind it anyway. They know they stand out. Like Jennifer here, she knows she stands out when she's in a crowd for whatever reason, and it's not in a necessarily an obnoxious way, although sometimes it is. Sometimes these motherfuckers, not Jennifer specifically, but you know, sometimes you get these people out there, they've had one too many drinks, so they're just already naturally obnoxious and they're just assholes and they kind of dominate the experience for the rest of the crowd. And it's up to me as a comedian to sort of put them in their place. And when they get out of line, you got to nuke that motherfucker. Start dropping bombs on them and let them know who's in control and who's in charge when you're on that stage. All right, tomorrow morning, I'm going live on the radio interview with Kevin Lambert, morning guy from Terre Haute, Indiana. That's either going to be at 7:30 a.m. or 8:30 a.m. I got to verify that because all I heard was 8:30, but I didn't clarify the time zone. And we already had daylight savings change and all that shit, which fucks me up anyway. So in any case, I'll be back live tomorrow from the green room right here in the jer-dog 420 studios. And then tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to have comedian Scott Long joining me as a special guest on the 420 Report for Telephone Tuesday. All right, I'll see you then. Tomorrow morning, live video. Tomorrow afternoon, 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time, live video. Until then, dog bless America.